And here we go. We, in fact, are invincible. We are Earth's Mightiest Critics. We're here to talk about The Legend of Billie Jean. No, this isn't a new film. In fact, it came out 40 years ago. And it's time for an anniversary reappraisal. This is a film that was on cable, I feel like, regularly when I
It was
was a
cable
kid.
fodder. It was true cable
Oh,
fodder.
total cable
Yeah.
staple. Like, yes.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I watched this as an impressionable youth, but I hadn't revisited it in, I don't know, probably 20 years, except for, leading up to this show. And wow, is it a different experience? Still a great experience. I was surprised to find out that not everybody loves this movie as much as I do, / I assume the rest of us do on this panel. It's something like it's in the high 30s on the tomato meter. 6.7 on IMDb, which is a bit more respectable and understandable. But tonight, we're going to give Billie Jean Davy her due because, as they say in the movie, fair is fair. But before we get to that, I want to introduce the panel. I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We have Katie Glidewell, the blonde in front, and Mark, the movie man Krawcheck of Special Mark Productions and the Spoiler Room podcast. So welcome, everybody. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You can see that I'm glistening because I went full method with the Corpus Christi sweat. So, went out there, ran a block, came back just to do this so I could get all hot summer Texas for you guys, y'all.
It's nice and cool up here. So,
well,
I would just like to say Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a gal in this movie,
and she thinks you're the one.
Yeah.
Now, was that, I don't know, I was too young to appreciate that context because that was a few years before this movie. Was there any confusion about is this about Michael Jackson? I don't know.
I don't think so, but I would definitely say it's Billie Jean is a very popular song. What if we make the lead character Billie Jean? I mean,
well, if you look at the time period, though, you also had the popularity of the name Billie Jean King as well. I mean, Billie Jean, for a while in this time period, was actually kind of a popular name. So, it just seems like I think it was just natural, but I wouldn't doubt it that they may have played on popularity wise, though I would say Billie Jean King, given the movie's context and everything, might have been more of the influence versus Billie Jean from Michael Jackson.
Well, I can just see this movie doing not that well at the box office because people showed up and they're like, wait, there's no tennis or singing in this movie.
Right?
What's going on? Anyhow, what is this movie about? Katie, can you give us a brief synopsis of The Legend of Billie Jean?
Yes, Legend of Billie Jean is about a brother and sister, Billie Jean and Banks, who live in Corpus Christi with their mom in a trailer park. They are kind of the poor kids in the area that they are. Billie Jean and her brother go swimming at a watering hole, maybe you could say, at the time. There is a craphead kid named Hubie, who in the first 5 minutes of the film, there's blatant bullying and sexual harassment. He takes Binks's scooter. Billie Jean goes to the police, saying, this kid took my brother's scooter. The cop could have solved all this if he just went to Hubie's house, charged him with theft, and that would have been the end of the film. Unfortunately, he didn't because Billie Jean's just a pretty girl, and I'm sure Hubie was just trying to, make you feel good and all this stuff. So I'm sure he'll be back in just a couple days.
It's just like pulling her hair in school, right?
Yeah,
that he likes her, and she naturally would like him. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the scooter gets damaged. Binks gets beat the crap out of. Billie Jean confronts Hubie's dad. Hubie's dad then takes it up a notch and then is almost sexually assaults Billie Jean. Binks finds a gun accidentally, and this is truly accidental. He's not even shooting it like this. It's like in his pan, like, oh, there's no bullets in this gun. Bam, it goes off. And then it's like this rebel without a cause, not rebel without a cause, but then it's this like action adventure all across, not necessarily even all across Texas. What am I even saying?
The county. It's like all across the county.
Like back and forth through Corpus Christi in this station wagon that is so blatantly non-conspicuous. It's like if they got in a car that was a General Lee and were able to go all around the state and no one would find them. I mean, it's one of the things that this does not bode well for any of the cops involved. Billie Jean makes a statement on TV saying, look, we are not thieves. We are not crooks. This is what this guy did. This is what this kid did. Fair is fair. We just want the money to pay back. And that's it. It's like, we didn't start this, but we're going to finish it. She becomes a local hero. Apparently, and this is one of the things that I was confused about, like rewatching this now. I'm watching it. It's like in a matter of 4 days, the guy who got shot was able to erect like a 30-foot paper mache Billie Jean and then market the shit out of all of her stuff, making who knows how much money, yet he didn't want to pay her for the damage that his son did. Like, in the matter of time that this has happened, he has made thousands of dollars. And yet, you know, is there really a resolution? I don't see how people didn't go to jail, but apparently they didn't. I'm feeling this is all about, you know, the media and, you know, getting everyone involved. And it's like, you know, these are, they're not really Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid or even Robin Hood or anything like that, but they're just out for justice that obviously the kids in Texas, like, need and want. And one of the girls even says, it's like, I think they're just picking on her because she's a girl, and I think that's disgusting. And the newscaster says, well, that's from a women's perspective. Thank you very much. And I'm like, awesome. But at the end, spoiler, they go to Vermont, and then from all the heat in Texas, then it's, you know, in Vermont. And again, not much time has passed. I honestly, it is amazing the marketing skills of these people in Corpus Christi that they're able to really capture everything. I mean, seriously, from the 30-foot, I think it is like 5 days. Like, that blew my mind when I was thinking about it.
I thought it was a little bit more, not a lot, but I thought it was a little bit more than that. They were on the run. Just a few days. I mean, that's all we get to see, but I think there's a wider.
Yeah, time is they don't really mark the time in this movie. It's not, they haven't been on the lam for like a couple weeks or a month or anything, but it's also, I don't know, it could have been a week. Also, it makes kind of local news throughout Texas, but you're not really sure if it's a national story. Yeah, it's a very odd movie. Sorry, go ahead, Katie.
Well, no, it apparently makes national news because Mr. Pyatt says, like, look at all these letters from these parents, these people who are saying teenagers are out of control. This is all over the country. It's like, how did that make national news? Like, what? I mean, sorry, you got shot. I'm not saying it's not, but it's like, you need to come to Chicago. That's not really, it's like, that's every day.
Well, but this is also, well, I mean, but it's also 40 years ago. So the stories about sensational, you know, teens run amok and that kind of violence would have been a big story, especially if you only had, you know, the 3 news networks and a blossoming cable industry. So yeah, that's another thing. I feel like this movie should have been a bit longer. Hell, as with most things today, it could have been a mini series of them just like on the run, doing like an Incredible Hulk or an A-Team kind of a thing where they're stopping through town, being local heroes, helping out bullied kids, fighting the man, literally fighting the man. There are 4 nut kicks in this movie. I get it, but wow.
It's one of the things I put down. Besides Helen Slater's haircut and Pat Benatar's song, the final standout in the film is Anita the Nuts. Because man, when it happens, and she has a good knee, because look, I don't know what that's like, fellas. I know obviously it hurts. There is pain.
Oh no,
But
it doesn't, Katie. It doesn't hurt. It is inexplicable, like Stargate seeing
It's an
portals.
instant stop. Okay,
Yeah.
it is an instant stop. It's
Yeah.
portrayed fairly well in this film, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
it-
I think Hubie deserves an Oscar for the knee in the nuts reaction because he does it so well, especially when they're at the mall and his dad's like, "Get him, Hubie!" and she like goes after and knees him, and then he's like still hopping along after he gets off the escalator and is like going after. It's
Yeah.
like, good for you, Helen Slater. Good for you.
It's so effective that there was a series of rules for D&D at the time. I forgot what it was called exactly. It had a nickname, but they were like realistic rules. And then there was a rule in D&D that if a male character got hit in the crotch, that there was like a 1% chance that any male within the 30-foot radius of that male would also feel that pain of the
I thought you meant these are like dungeon master rules, like don't don't fight each other while you're playing the game.
not like that. No, but in D&D. But yeah, so I mean that's it's portrayed well in here. I protest that these new movies are all woke. Oh my God, these new movies are so. Oh wait, this is 40 years ago. Never mind. No, just kidding.
Well, no, there's a big difference, Mark, and part of the reason is because of movies like this. The whole like wokeness debate is like, wow, it's a strong female character. Mostly talked about by 20-year-olds who won't watch anything before the year 2000.
Right. No, I get you.
Go back and say, no, we had this back 40 years ago. It's not special.
No, I that's why I joked about it, is because people talk about it as if it's something new in film. And here we have, I mean, let's talk. I've always told people, I'm like, if you look at the 80s, you wonder why Gen X is the way it is. Everything about the 80s was about teenage rebellion, was about us rejecting our parents at every form. And I'm not saying other decades or generations had it, but we had it in everything, in our music, in our film, in our books, in comic book, but here is a prime example. This is one of those, it's not a Cold War one, but it's an 80s fantasy film, similar to like Red Dawn in that, where you have your teenagers doing things, fighting the system in their own way, fist up, don't forget about me, Breakfast Club type of approach. And you had this kind of, this feeling, this vibe, as people would say, through a lot of these teenage type themed films. And Legend of Billie Jean is one of those prime examples of that, and that's what, watching it again, I haven't watched it in ages, and watching it again, I'm like, this movie's cool.
It is
amazing soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Like, it seriously has a solid soundtrack, and they edited the songs in chef's kiss way. And it's baby Christian Slater. He's 15 in this movie,
which is wild because this was the same year, or maybe it was the year after he was in The Name of the Rose, or was that 83? So he was like 13 or 15, and then 5 years later he's in Pump Up the Volume, and like I think 4 years later he was in Heathers, right?
4 years, yeah, I was in Heathers.
And it's crazy because like his voice is still squeaky, his acting is questionable, as is a lot of the acting in this movie. I mean, it's sincere, but hold on a second. Slasher Fred says the soundtrack had so many songs like Invincible by Pat Benatar.
Hells yes.
Oh,
now,
God.
I want to offer a criticism here. I love the song Invincible. It is a bona fide rock anthem. I don't think it's used well in this movie because it's used twice, very close. Each scene is very close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You have the bit where she's kind of doing the Underground Railroad sort of thing, where she's getting hitchhiked rides, transport across the state in secret. And then like 10 minutes later is the county fair beach scene party radio thing with the Mr. Pyatt's merch mart and the 30-foot tall statue, and then they play the song Invincible as the statue's burning down, like that's the big climax of the film. I think it should have been used there, but not 10 minutes earlier, because like we just heard this song. What I did appreciate, and what I hadn't noticed until this viewing, is they work that into the score earlier on in the film, and when she comes out with the brand new look to record that video, you're hearing that riff, and that's powerful. But let's back up. I mean, Helen Slater and Christian Slater, no relation, strangely enough.
No,
no relation.
They make great siblings, and I think when Binks and Billie Jean are hanging out, on the lake, just chilling, or not chilling, they're sweating. Everything in this movie is very sweaty.
it's
Even
very
the cops.
sweaty.
They don't have AC in that police station, I swear,
No.
because Peter Coyote is dripping sweat the entire film, except ironically when he's outside at like the mini golf thing later in the film, he seems totally fine.
Yes.
But I don't understand it. But
Texas is hot, Ian. Texas is hot.
It is, but I mean,
it's the sun, especially in the summer. It really is.
I felt it though coming through my television watching this thing. But no, they work great as siblings, and I really did buy their camaraderie, their connection. But Mark, you mentioned this is a rebellion movie. What I thought was fascinating, and I'd never really picked up on this, is the adults in the film are not all Mr. Pyatt. There's a very clear dichotomy between the corrupt adults and the almost like throwback to John Wayne, like noble adults, like Peter Coyote's Lieutenant Ringwald. He is, I mean, aside from Katie, you very rightfully so pointing out that he should have done an investigation on that scooter, and he
calls it.
He admits it.
Yeah, he admits it.
Right, but Dean Stockwell later on shows up as the state's attorney, or district attorney. He's going to go for state attorney general or something like that. He kind of talks down to Peter Coyote's character. He's like, they got the drop on you with a toy gun, and Ringwald's response is, yes, sir, they did. He didn't make any excuses. He didn't say, well, what did you have done? He kind of sucks it up and owns it. And throughout this entire picture, he believes that these kids are not that they're in the right, but that there was an inciting incident that is not being truthfully portrayed by Mr. Pyatt and some of the other people around him. He wants to get to the bottom of it. He doesn't think they're bad kids. He notices the fact that, like, oh, they left IOUs for everything that they stole or lifted on their journey on the lam. And it's kind of touching. At the end, he's trying to hold people back, and he's there with he's very concerned about the health of Binks when he gets shot posing as his sister. It's kind of a touching story. But on the polar opposite of that is Mr. Pyatt. Now this is an iconic villain role. I didn't know the actor's name. But Richard Bradford, I've seen him in other things. I think he was in The Untouchables a couple years after this. A very good and very different role. But I remember watching this film on repeat as a kid and just thinking, this movie brought out the archetypical, like, male chauvinist pig villain. And also, I was telling my wife this, it's an archetype that we kind of mentioned with the whole like wokeness thing. I think Billie Jean Davy might be the first time I encountered the prototypical strong female character archetype in a movie. Now, of course, there are movies that predated this, Friday the 13th and Alien and Terminator, the things that everybody talks about all the time. But I'm pretty sure, because this movie, I was 8 when it came out. I think this might be the first time I had seen that, and I saw those other movies later, so I could appreciate it. And it wasn't so much that, she's a girl, everything. It's just that's the idea that she could be, very powerful in her own right and be a cool rebel, to the point where I didn't think anything of it, that there was anything special or, weird about it, about that being the case. I do wish there was more time spent with her in that mode, which is why I mentioned the whole TV series idea, because she has this transformation like more than halfway through the movie, and then the film is kind of on fast forward. We spend a lot of time with her as the kind of the trailer park teen with the long hair and the iffy accent, which comes and goes.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
It does.
And they're on the run in a few different scenarios before they come to the house of Lloyd, played by Keith Gordon, who at this point, I mean, he'd already been in Christine and Back to School, and now I don't know if he's supposed to be a high schooler or in college
And
or.
Jaws 2.
And
Oh, that's
Jaws
right,
too.
Jaws too.
Yeah,
How can we forget?
I can't forget about Jaws too.
He's one of those guys that like had a 5-year run of playing like alternating high school and college kids. I don't know. It's kind of ageless.
Yeah, he showed up in both films and both roles like that for a while. Like John Cusack, you know, he was like one of those to where you could he ended up getting both roles.
Right, but I feel like Cusack, you could at least track like his early 80s to the late
Sure.
80s when he's like in high school and going into college and then like kind of beyond those roles. But Keith Gordon, I'd have to go back and look at his filmography, but it feels like he kind of bounced back and forth.
Yeah.
Right. But he wasn't really a leading man. So oh my gosh, I just put this together. He was in Christine with John Stockwell, who's I think Dean Stockwell's son. That's kind of wild. Go ahead, Katie.
Is he really?
I think so. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure. Someone Google that for me.
Well, and I mean, of the, as you were saying, like you don't know like the age. It's like of the 4 people who are supposed to be teenagers, and then if you add Lloyd in and stuff like that, the only one who's actually a teenager is Christian Slater. I mean, even Yeardley Smith at that time, she was 20.
Yeah.
And she's supposed to be playing 14. And Ophelia is 30. So it was one of those things that it's like when I think of the 80s, and I think we all know, when you think of the 80s, you don't really see teenagers playing teenagers. And honestly, it's always a joke that it's like, oh, here's a 30-year-old playing a 17-year-old, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I told you guys this or it was on something else, but I recently remember seeing like the Chucky series where the kids who are teenagers. Honestly, I'd rather see 20-somethings playing teenagers because then when they start to like kiss or something or do anything, like I get so skeeved out. Even though, look, you guys are the same age. This is age appropriate for you. That's fine. I don't want to see kids doing this. Stop. I don't want to see that. So please, let's go back to the 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds playing teenagers. That's fine.
It's even wilder for me, Katie, because I see, teenagers who, they're 18, 19, 25, and they all look like they're 12. I've reached that age. But I do want to set the record straight, just like Billie Jean. Dean Stockwell and John Stockwell are not related. This is a 40-year-old thing I've been carrying around in my head. Wow.
There you go. So the more you know. Okay. You just had a rainbow reaction there.
But it's just like Christian Slater and Helen Slater, back-to-back movies with like these people who are not related. How is this happening? But I was going to say, they finally make their way to this guy Lloyd's house because they're kind of driving around looking for a place to stay. They find all these mansions that, a couple of them, no lights are on. Doesn't look like anybody's home. So they kind of crash to one place. They hang out in the dining room. There's this great joke where I think Ophelia gives Putter something to eat. She's like, "What is this? I think it's chicken. Doesn't taste like chicken." Well, rich people food don't taste like it's supposed to, or what it's supposed to taste like. There's a real kind of a class divide here. A real obsession with trailer parks, which was a thing in the 80s. The year before this, you had The Last Starfighter. I don't know what was going on.
Yes.
Yeah, trailer parks definitely for the longest time had the negative connotation. So.
I was talking about this with a coworker that it's like, we're going to talk about The Legend of Billie Jean. And it's like, wow, they really trashed the hell out of trailer parks in this film. They're like, she's just wanting the money. She's just doing this because she lives in the trailer. And even when she talks to the police officers, like, I live here. Like, she's saying it with shame. I'm like, girl, you have a house. You have a roof over your head. You're all good. It's like, no shame in your game. Stop.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was again probably the 1980s. A lot of rich kids running around, and I mean, look at Pretty in Pink, and I mean, she didn't live in a trailer, but there was definitely that snobbish kind of attitude, as embodied by Hubie Pyatt. And I just want to say that was it Barry Tubb, I think was his name.
Barry Tubb, love me some Barry Tubb.
I hated him in this movie. Looks great.
No, he sucks in
no,
this movie.
not as the character. The character is terrible, but his acting. I mean, he's in like a slide whistle banana peel comedy. But Dad, like, what is going on here with this character? But he was in Top Gun the year after this. Anyway,
Yeardley Smith a year later would be in Maximum Overdrive, and then on her way to get her career basically set for her for the rest of her entire career, as during Maximum Overdrive, she went to go audition for some crazy little animated series that she had told the folks about, which I found out about. So it's interesting, her path as well from here to, where she ended up.
Well, let me just, sorry, go ahead.
Barry Tubb was in this film called Warm Summer Rain with Kelly Lynch. That was also a big cable staple. If anyone wants to watch it, it's a little racy, just to let you know. It was on Cinemax a lot.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Wank. So I am very familiar with Barry Tubb. Thank you very much.
Or should we just call him Barry?
But no, he is a dirtbag in this movie.
Barry Abs? What?
No, I was going to call him Barry Hot Tub. Sounds like.
I call him Hub Hub.
Hubba Tub. Yeah.
Hopefully not StubHub.
No.
Anyway, sorry, that wasn't product placement.
What's interesting about this is what I found is you're right, Ian, about the villain, because what I think makes this film stand out a little bit more than some of the other like 80s kids rebelling against parents sort of thing is that we have our villain who doesn't even go along with the law and the stuff. He takes things on his own agenda, to which the law here really just kind of want to bring the kids in. He wants to bring some pain of some sort to the kids. And he, like, because you get that that scene where they were going to drop off and do the money exchange in the mall. And so he's like, "Get her, Hubie." And the cops are just like, "Wait, what?" And they're just like, this skis ball. So you have different tiers of your adults, like you said, and our villain is a true villain here through and through. He's not like, a misunderstood villain. No, this guy's a jerk, and he's a
total S-bag. Yeah, he's big time. And the whole film, I mean, adults are letting the kids down. I mean, you've got Kenny who's getting beat up by his dad, and his little friends have to go in and like ask Billie Jean if they can help. It's like you can hear him slapping his child at the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Where are the adults? But the adults, and I was like, I remember that scene. There weren't any adults. Oh no, there are. There's a whole sea of kids, and then you see like 3 adults behind them. Like, what are you guys doing? But then you have the parents, like, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
In fairness, I don't think they were supposed to be adults. I think they were playing 14.
Yeah.
Like giant people. Yeah.
They were
with the mustache and the mullet.
They were supposed to be. They were supposed to be older teenagers.
Billie Jean and Binks's mom. It's like the scooter is stolen, and all she does is blame Binks. It's like, well, you never should have bought it anyway. It's like, how do I look? It's like, Billie Jean, what do you think? It's like, oh yeah, he looks nice. And I'm thinking, girl, you need to get out of that trailer before he moves in, because no, that's not going to be good for you. It's like each adult is horrible in this movie.
No, I want to defend. No, I want to defend Billie Jean's mom.
All right.
Because there was the bit with the scooter. This is before Binks went and got beaten up.
Yeah.
But it's weird because I don't know how old Binks is supposed to be in this movie. He comes off as alternately 13 and 15. So I don't know how he was old enough to be able to drive this scooter around. But his mom probably was against him getting it. She probably knew the dangers. Not that I want to blame the victim or anything like that, but the kind of circles he ran around in, the town that he was in, and the kind of bullies that hung around probably would put a target on his back with that scooter. And also, because we're talking about an 80s movie, we have to talk about the two lovely instances of the other F word that get dropped very liberally in
Oh
this
Lord,
movie,
Yeah.
yes.
in reference to that scooter, in fact.
Very early on in the film.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is, relating to what you had mentioned, as far as the boyfriend, the mom's boyfriend, when
Well,
she looks
first
out,
date. It's a
first
first
Yeah.
date.
date.
It's a
Yeah.
first-
Well, but yeah, I'm going to call him boyfriend for this reason. There was that
I know.
whole cliche of, oh, maybe this will be the one, and Billie Jean looks out the window and sees the guy. He's like doing the comb over thing, and then he turns and he smiles. The normal reaction, and I've seen this in 100 terrible movies, is Billie Jean would turn around and go, oh, or Mom,
True.
this isn't the one, he's a loser or something. But she said, he seems nice. And it feels like she meant it. So
Mhm.
maybe she's kind of hopeful that he will be a nice guy, and maybe he's upwardly mobile and help get them out of the trailer park, and Mom will find love. Later on in the scene where the cops are at the trailer because Billie Jean is calling the mother, and the mom's talking to her on the phone, that guy is in the background.
Mhm.
This is
Yes.
probably a day or two later, and he's there. So he's showing up to be supportive. I don't know if he shows up later in the film,
I
but
think he's near the end.
was he in? Because I know there
I
was,
think
there
he's
was
near
another
the
scene
end too. Yeah, because she
with the
shows
mom.
up at the end with the big party when Billie Jean is actually going to say she's going to turn herself in.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's
does.
the kind of nuance that I think is kind of prevalent throughout the film, that kids wouldn't necessarily notice this, but there is something in here for adults too. And it's not just the black and white, parents suck and teens have all the answers. I think this movie is also not that flattering to teenagers, and the relatively new sensational mania of television and
Yes.
burgeoning fame, because they have the standard thing of like the radio station and the TV reporters. You mentioned Katie, the girl at the mall, who I think had a very cool answer, but a lot of the other people were like, "Oh, Billie Jean's hot," and other people were like, "I hope they fry him." And it's at the end of the movie, when they realize that this hero worship that they've been indulging in is founded in something that's kind of disturbing and gross, which is sexual assault and theft and all this other stuff. They start, burning the merchandise and the posters and the T-shirts and stuff. There's a lot going on here. It's not the one-dimensional, again, idea of these hero outlaws and isn't everything grand. It's a theme that would go on, that they'd go on to kind of explore in Pump Up the Volume 5 years later with Christian Slater playing the pirate radio DJ, kind of exposing the hypocrisy of the adult world and also of the teenage world. Help me out here, gang. Why do you think people don't or didn't respond to this movie? I know a lot more people of my generation who have a great respect for this than, I guess, the kind of the critics class who think it's a poor film.
Well, watching this now, I'm trying to think how I would feel as an adult watching this film with the four characters. You are correct, and I do want to go back. When Billie Jean did see the guy, she is, it's like, he looks nice. It's like, you've got pretty eyes, Mom. That's the way she is, and she is honestly the most flattering, almost to the point of naive, that she wants everything to be good and is hopeful that it can be and stuff like that. But with everything that's probably gone on in her life, I do respect the fact that it's like, look, I'm glad that you've got a positive attitude and all that stuff. That's nice. Putter Jack and Ophelia, though, really ground my nerves. And watching this now as an adult, I remember not liking Putter Jack. Not so much as like a Scrappy-Doo kind of way, but almost in that disdain and not hatred level, but it's like, ugh. But then watching it now as an adult, I was like, God, these people are just idiots. It's like, I know she's supposed to be like really young, but damn, they are really, 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 really stupid. But I don't know. As a kid, I loved this film. Like, because of this movie, I sing Invincible almost every single time at karaoke, and anyone that's there that's Gen X is always like, "Fair's fair." I mean, they automatically know what this is. So I don't know if it's just, one of those like Grease 2, like something like movies that it's like totally panned, the adults hated, The Thing and all that stuff. It's like, that's fine, because guess what? Your kids are gonna love it, kind of thing. And it's like, and then it, ends up being a cult classic.
I think you kind of lean towards it, and Ian hinted at it too, is if you look at the vibe, for lack of a better term, the energy of this film, the energy is of a lighter teen like comedy approach, as far as how it's briskly edited and everything as it moves along. It covers some heavy topics, don't get me wrong, but it handles them in a very interesting way that you didn't always see it handled as during this time. In that, you're right, Ian and Katie both, our Billie Jean, she's not bratty at any point.
True.
She is really trying to thread the needle and play the line, going, hey, we can't go over this line. We have to, if we do this, she's looking at it like, if we do this, it's what they're calling us. We can't do this, because otherwise we're going to become what they think we are. And she doesn't want that. All she wants is fair is fair. Just, so she is one of the heroes that you see that at never any point does she say, turn to the dark side. Let's just say at any point in this, when they could have easily taken her and gone, at some point, just the breaking point, because she's not getting any cooperation from the adults at all, and people are calling her things. Okay, fine. If they're going to call me that, I'm going to do this. She at no point does that.
Well, she's the limiting influence. I think she is supposed to be the oldest out of this group of, I'm going to call them teenagers. I imagine she's probably 17, 18. Putterjack, as you kind of mentioned, Katie, Yeardley Smith was 20 when she did this. I think she's playing about 12 years old, because towards the end of,
supposed to be like 13. Yeah, something like
maybe
that.
Because towards the end of the movie, she gets her first period. So yeah, she's right about in that age, but she looks older. Ophelia being 30, that makes a lot more sense, because watching this now, I'm like, there's 90210 playing teenagers, and then there's this lady. I think she's great. I always kind of had a crush on her and Billie Jean when I was a kid, but the other kids in the group, they're more susceptible, probably because they're significantly younger and they see Billie Jean as the kind of the authority figure who's supposed to take care of everything. But like Binks is very impulsive. He pulls out the gun on Lieutenant Ringwald. He also brandishes the gun during one of the car chases. And I think it's Lloyd who's like, get down, they're shooting real bullets at us. Putter is obsessed with junk food and the idea of getting famous. In fact, towards the end, when she shows up with Ophelia after some time, she steps out of this car and she's got like the kind of the glam, like Billie Jean from a salon haircut. She's wearing like a blazer and she does the whole thing. Ophelia is more of she was kind of reluctantly drawn into this. She actually had wanted to do the drop you off at Mos Eisley or wherever you're going kind of thing, until she realized, wait, I can't go back home because the cops are crawling over the place. I'm an accessory to this thing. But
no one will find this, because I mean, my dad's car is so conspicuous. Like, who would
the name of the trailer park,
and it has the name of the trailer park on it. That will totally be hidden.
But what I'm saying is, like, Billie Jean is consistently the one who has to tamp down on those impulse, immature, dark side ideas that are coming from her group. And the fact that she is so consistent, it might have to do, honestly, with the inspiration of Joan of Arc. We mentioned meeting Lloyd, this kind of rich kid, bored, neglected by his parents, hanging out in this mansion. He likes, horror movies and all this weird stuff. The story of Joan of Arc is playing on TV, and they'll go kind of swimming on this incredible water slide that goes from his bedroom window down into a pool. I so wanted one when I was a child. and still to this day. But Billie Jean stays back. There's this great shot of Lloyd like looking up from the pool and just sees the window, and Billie Jean never came down. We go into his bedroom and she's sitting there like watching a young Joan of Arc being martyred and burned at the stake in a great series of special effects. It was crazy. But then she's finding her purpose there, and she gets to be on a mission. But even that mission, it gives her a sense of determination, but it doesn't corrupt what she wants. She just wants the $608. She doesn't even necessarily want a confession from Mr. Pyatt or any of that stuff until the very end of the movie, when she figures out that he's just trying to buy her off. I'm just thinking about if they were going to try and make this movie today, it would be about so many other things and not just like this local personal problem. The idea of like the system, the men kneeing them in the nuts, that would have been like writ large in a new version. But I think I'm not even going to call it subtle, but it's there in this movie, but also in a way that it's not icky. You can very much get on Billie Jean's side and be like, yes, these particular people need to be taken down in spectacular public fashion.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Katie.
and Helen Slater's monologue, when she does that, I mean, I haven't seen that in years. Did I memorize it as a kid? Yeah. I mean, it's not hard to, but even like rewatching the film for this, I mean, kudos, girl. Like that, seriously, I honestly would love to know how many takes it took for that to be the final product, because she comes out and it's like when Bink said, it's like, oh my gosh, Billie Jean, you look, and he's like, famous. Like, yeah, you look famous. And it's like, she does. But then it's like when she's, as you said, when she's saying her speech, it's like, it's not about anything, but it's like, we just want what is fair. It's like you beat up. It's not even about the assault on her brother. It's not even about the assault on her. It's just like, you stole the scooter, you wrecked the scooter. There's $608. That's all we want. And it's like, girl, I love you. But I mean, it's, it had that little ginger kid go in the PlayStation. Yeah. And I mean, it's just an inspiring monologue, and it's just so smart that Lloyd was reading her mind. It's like, you can take these. He's like, that's the way you do it. Yep, I know exactly what you want to do. And then they took it to all the police stations all over Corpus Christi or Texas. I'm not really sure with the VHSs and all that stuff, because I don't need to think about how they actually got the little random.
Well, dubbing doesn't take long. It wasn't that long of a speech, so he could have dubbed it very easily, especially being a geekhead and having the money. He had multiple VHS decks, so it wouldn't have been that difficult to make copies.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like spreading it all over.
Well, they gave
Corpus Christi or Texas, so like how that happened. But anyway, is a kicker. I mean, it's a keeper.
And I think one of the keys I just kind of picked up on this viewing, because this is the first time I'm really watching it as an adult, as a, with the film critic brain and all that stuff. But what I liked about it is, again, just thinking about how they would make this speech today. It'd be super serious and super like there's something changed in her, and she's, fierce and determined. There's a change in her, but she's still recognizably Billie Jean. At a couple of points, she kind of turns because she knows Binks and Putter Jack and Ophelia and Lloyd are off to the side, and they can't believe that she's doing this. But when she does the fair is fair and all this stuff, and she puts her hands up, she kind of turns to the side like she's almost looking off camera, and she's got like a smile, kind of like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm going to go for it. She's still very much a person, and it retains her character. I don't know if this was something they caught Helen Slater doing, like as an actress, she's like, I can't believe I have to say this shit. Or if she is very much in character and they, that was all deliberate, but it totally works.
I think it's in character, and it's what's funny is watching this film again and seeing her speech and seeing how they're handled, how the media stuff handles it, and how you get the, the bad guy trying to profit, who is profiting off of her, right? And the craze and people can, you know what this reminded me of? A film that would come out 9 years later about Mickey and Mallory and how you had the media. Okay, that's an extreme end, but what I'm saying is, as far as its core about how media and fandom and how people latch on possibly and build this legend of someone who all she wants is this 620 some odd dollars,
608 mark,
$608, and the media and the kids and everything have blown her up to this legend where you got guys at a gas station across Texas saying, oh yeah, no, they robbed me at gunpoint, and they're like, we weren't even over there, you know. That whole thing, it was just fun seeing in this teen film a theme, a look of media, even back then, the statement of blowing up and hero worship and fall, you know, how things build and how things are exploited. You know, only in this case, it's something pure that's being exploited.
Well, I think Natural Born Killers is a great comparison. I think it's a nice evolution of this kind of an idea. And I think, I mean, if you look at we are due for a new version of this story. Because honestly, if you look at Steven Spielberg's first feature film, first theatrical feature film, The Sugarland Express, which came out in the 70s, 74. And then you've got 11 years later, Legend of Billie Jean. 9 years after that, you've got Natural Born Killers. You're looking at a progression of media and what that does to people and the concept of outlaws. In Sugarland Express, it's pretty much all radio and word of mouth going throughout these towns, again in Texas. You've got more television and national radio exposure in Billie Jean. By the time I got to Natural Born Killers, that's the full age of cable, not really the internet. So that's why I think we're due for something like, I can only imagine what this story would be like in the TikTok generation. It's funny because I'm reading a book now, which I highly recommend, called Amusing Ourselves to Death. It was written the same year that The Legend of Billie Jean came out. And it's about how television is basically destroying communication and the way that we think. And it's fascinating because reading this book, you can very much substitute, every time you see the word television, substitute the internet. Yeah. The arguments that are being put forth, that Neil Postman put forth, 40 years ago, are even more salient today. And I'm 87 pages in, and he's been talking about the history of communication and media. And I'm just about to begin the chapter where he starts talking about television in earnest. I think this movie could and should be remade today with the same sensibilities as they had back in the 80s, if that's even possible. Just as far as like not going too overboard with social commentary. I feel like the medium is the message in this case. But it totally works.
Would you have it set now, or would you have it set in the 80s?
I would have it set now.
See, the only thing, if it was set now, I mean, there's so many cameras and cell phones and ring doorbells and all that stuff that I don't see how, if as soon as they left Mr. Pyatt's, how they would not be caught within like an hour.
Well, it'd be interesting. You could take the angle even further, because in this one, they elaborate of how people are exaggerating and basically claiming with name dropping, oh yeah, Billie Jean robbed me. Yeah. And we would see this a little bit later in some other films when, even in Heathers, we'd see it in Heathers a bit, to where, someone died and suddenly the teenagers are like, oh, I knew her and she was my best friend. And they're like sitting there going, no, you didn't. You didn't even, and you could even do it nowadays. You could do it to where someone does one act and they go into hiding and no one ever sees them. But by the one act, it explodes and just causes this whole story, this whole big story, when all this person does this one simple act and they go into hiding away from, like, out in the woods, away from all the tech and everything. And yet there's this story building about them. And then if they come back, like even a year later, you could say, well, what the hell? I didn't You could do the story that angle, and it'd be similar to Billie Jean in that you keep your character pure, which is what Billie Jean throughout this whole thing, which is what is refreshing. She stays, her this whole time, her values, her personality, everything at a core really sticks through. The strength comes through a little bit more, but that was always there. But you could do that with a new story. Just have the person pure, and they just didn't intend it to blow up, and they don't get corrupted. You don't have that, suddenly the fame takes them over, but then they get the redemption after they hit the rock bottom again and then come back like we've seen. No. So you can play that angle, I think.
There's that. And I would like Ian, you pointed out that, Peter Coyote, you don't see this in a lot of films in the 80s and the 90s, when you have an adult who made a mistake and he's accountable and he says, I messed this up. And it's like, it's not these kids' fault. I know something's wrong. That you do not see in a lot of movies. It's usually after someone dies or here's a flashback, and 30 years later, it's like, that was my fault. It's like, well, what the hell? You could have told these people now. It's like, so again, rewatching, it's like, good for you, Peter Coyote. Yeah, you did admit that you effed up. And it's like, and if you hadn't done that, if you just done your job as a cop, hi, this person stole this thing from me. Thank you, ma'am. I will go over to this person's house and get it back from you and charge them with theft. Case closed. Movies, it's a short film now. But yeah, if they at least have an adult who is an adult and acts like that, then it would be interesting to see how that film would be. I don't know if they could do it, though. I think there's too much internet film. Like, I don't know, when there's whole movies that are done without a camera, not, a traditional camera, and then are done just from using any sort of like social media or anything like that. I just don't see how these kids could have gotten away, like, even for a day, let alone however long it was for Mr. Pyatt to, organize and make. And because, oh my gosh, this happened after she did the thing. So not only was it after he got shot, but it was after she was on TV. So then it was like right after that, he was like, what I need to do? Now that she's on TV, I need to erect a 30-foot paper mache thing of her.
But honestly, Katie, I think a lot of the stuff that is questionable in this movie in 1985 works in 2025. Because with print on demand, I mean, Mr. Pyatt could have had that merch shop up the same afternoon if he had wanted to. On top of that, I feel like you use the problems that you're posing to the advantage of the screenplay. Like, yes, there's cameras everywhere, but they can catch everything, such as possibly Pyatt's assault on Billie Jean. Maybe he had a camera up in that loft, just to make sure Hubie never stole stuff from him because he doesn't trust his own kid, which brings me back to the mall thing. Pyatt doesn't have any faith in his son. He thinks he's an idiot and a screw up. So I don't know why he would put the let's nab Billie Jean outside the purview of the cops in his son's hands. He had to know that was going to go south. But I feel like you use, like I said, TikTok, instant celebrity, meme culture to create a barrier, a shelter for Billie Jean. Not necessarily, hey, people are picking her up and driving her from place to place, but you get 1,000 people claiming, hey, I'm Billie Jean. You get people who know how to use AI to create alternate personas to confuse the cops. I sound like such a boomer right now, but I'm just saying that I think there's a way to approach the skeleton of this story, but using today's newfangled technology to tell a version of this that not only works, but also says something about where we're at.
Well, and I like where you're going, but also I think we'd actually go back to the 60s and back to the 80s with that. Because now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, if you just said something that reminds me, it's like, yeah, if everyone did like a Spartacus thing, it's like, I'm Billie Jean. And then I'm thinking, it's like, what if everyone did the whole thing in the Three Amigos where they dress up like her and like go in and out at the end and all that stuff. It's like, you know what? Now let me go back. We can make this movie in 2025 because yeah, there are ways to just like do this, have the haircut. I retract that. It can now be done.
So it comes out with a Snapchat filter that makes you look like Billie Jean.
Yeah.
Instantly, I mean, you could do it that way. Talking with you guys, Ringwald is an interesting cop character and not one we see in a lot of, especially 80s films, but just in films in general. Not only as an adult who takes he takes responsibility, saying, yeah, you know what, I screwed this up, but at a number of points you can see how he knows the kids have done wrong, but at the same time he actually understands what's motivating them, and he doesn't necessarily blame them. He's not forgiving them. He's not saying what they should get away with it, but at the same time he's like, I understand why they're in this situation. Part of it was my fault. He comes right out, but you see him all along the way, kind of the way he handles the kids in a way that the other adults can't. And he ends up getting put in a similar situation because when Ringwald goes to Moldar, Dean Stockwell's character, he's like, yeah, I screwed up. We should do this. And then he's like, no, or he's like, keep it mowed down, because he's like, I don't really believe your kid got kidnapped. He thinks that, he even sees through it going, yeah, I think Lloyd is kind of helping Billie Jean here, given the whole vibe of the rest of the teenagers in Corpus Christi. I think Lloyd's helping them, and Moldar there tries to use it as a political advantage. And so he completely ignores Ringwald's even trying to do the right thing, similar to what Billie Jean was doing, but the rest of the system or whatever is trying to use it to their own advantage. So in a subtle, not so direct way, but it's still there. Moldar is doing exactly what what's his name, Pyatt did in a different way.
And it's interesting because they both have like really complicated, i.e. bad relationships with their sons. Because when Ringwald is talking to Moldar, I think the first time when he's brought in, he's like, yeah, I think my son probably did this to get back at me or to mess up my campaign or something like that. Like, wow, you guys really don't like each other, if you would suspect, possibly correctly so. That your own flesh and blood would do that to you. I think there is something that you can really do with this and lean into the technology and kind of where we've come as a culture and what this has all done to us. Even maybe even have some more nuance to. Are all the teenagers really on board with what Billie Jean is doing? I mean, you can't have one side of an argument now on the internet about anything. You've got to like have a 1,000 different opinions all clashing. So maybe bring some of that into the discussion. Would there be people who would betray Billie Jean? I think one of the interesting things about this is in order to, I guess, help Ophelia and Putterjack get not further into trouble, she actually calls the cops on them and has them get picked up in the back of that station wagon, which it's an odd betrayal, but there's no malice in it.
No, because she knows her two friends are stubborn and they are just not listening to her. They want to go along with her, whether they want to stand by her, but also have kind of their own motives. But what she's about to do, she does not want them involved. So I thought it's an interesting play, but at the same time, with those two characters, the way they are, I mean, you guys both stated it, they're not the most pleasant character. They don't exactly listen well because they're supposed to be younger. I think Billie Jean sees it as her only real play.
Yeah.
And the only way she could do that to get them to actually do what she wants them to do.
And also get them out of danger, because it was after they got shot at, and then Putterjack started her period, which it's it's not gross, it's wonderful. I'm like, no, it's not.
Which we have a wonderful cameo by Stretch, so that's always cool.
I was going to say Caroline Williams shows up as in the pickup truck. Her
trying to
redneck
prevent the
boyfriend.
guy from shooting.
Oh, that, and I'm sorry, but when it reminded me of the climax of Carrie, when John Travolta is trying to run Carrie off the road, and the car ends up like flipping down the ditch and just like going all out of control. But yeah, it was nice to see Stretch in a cameo there. I do want to also say, talking about like weird coincidences, Pat Benatar's "Invincible" was the song of this movie. In Fast Times at Ridgemont High back in 1982, there was a whole like gag in the lunchroom when they were talking about the different cliques of people, and how there were a number of girls in the school who had quote unquote cultivated the Pat Benatar look. And then Pat Benatar's her big single from that year was "Shadows of the Night," and in the music video you've got Judge Reinhold, who was also in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. What's going on here? It's a Pat Benatar cinematic universe we have.
It's the Pat. Well, she was the popular one. She had some really cool songs, and back then, here's my get off the lawn moment. But plain and simple is, and we've talked about it in various shows, either here or even on our show when we talk about older films. The pool of popularity was a lot smaller back then, so you had artists and actors show up a lot more frequently because you didn't have quite as much of the swath of popularity. The Hollywood would pick, or music tastes would pick a specific group or specific sound or whatnot, and that'd be the thing, and that's it. I mean, whatever else, good luck, or whoever else, good luck, because that group, like the Brat Pack, or that type of music, that's going to be the popular one. And so Pat Benatar for a while just had banger after banger, and so of course they're going to work that into it because the teens were the ones that were going to the movies, not the parents. And so
they had disposable income, which is something that's kind of missing today from the youth market. But all right, any final thoughts on Legend of Billie Jean at 40?
I mean, this is it. When I think of this film, it makes me smile inside of the fun times I would watch this at home on cable. It's always going to be one of those, and I don't know, I can't speak of the Gen X generation per se, but yeah, this is just one of those films that it's like I want to go back to the simpler time when we could just watch a film like this and have that closing song, that closing banger song, and like everyone's fair is fair, and just like even though they spent all that money on the crap they got from Mr. Pyatt, it's like, you know what, I'm gonna burn this shit, I don't care. It's like, because she was wronged, and she takes off that wig and shows her blonde hair, and it's like chills. It's like Helen Slater was great. It's a shame. Was Supergirl after this or before? It was after
year
this,
before.
Right?
Year before.
It was before.
Yeah.
Well, it's a shame because honestly, after The Legend of Billie Jean, she should have had a better career, I feel like, than she did. I mean, she did some great stuff. I remember her in SVU, so I know she's still working and stuff like that. But honestly, she had a star quality, and it's a shame that it didn't do what it should have done. Perhaps, I don't know if that's what, but I love Legend of Billie Jean.
I wonder if, and I'd have to think about this, but kind of going back to what Mark said, I mean, Helen Slater, she definitely had a career. She was in a few movies, and she was even headlining of a couple of them. It might have just been the thing of like, she had Supergirl, she had this, she was the headliner for a couple of movies that notoriously kind of flopped, might have had cult followings. But
Secret of My Success, she was in that.
Right. Mm-hmm. But, that was mostly a Michael J. Fox film where Helen Slater was in. So it could have been that she had her chance, and the movies, not anything to do necessarily with her talent, just didn't make it, so that her phone stopped ringing. But also the idea of the whole Brat Pack thing. She wasn't really in that circle of that orbit. In fact, she was kind of doing something in those movies. When I think of her, she is doing something different than the kind of the Brat Pack angst. I mean, even the type of character that Billie Jean is, that doesn't fit into any of the kind of Brat Pack archetypes. Rebellious but driven by sincerity and a true spirit of justice. It's not, Brat Pack was very much, I'm doing coke, or my parents are doing coke, and everyone's doing coke, and I'm miserable, and I just want to find love. But yeah, so that's a whole other show.
My parents doing coke, my dog's doing coke, everyone's doing coke. And
it's the 80s. Coke should have had its own credit.
Yeah.
It deserves an honorary lifetime achievement award at the Oscars. They should just give it to cocaine.
No, I was talking about Coca-Cola, Mark. What are you talking about?
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When I was quite younger, I fully admit there's a reason I watched Billie Jean.
Don't admit to any crimes on this live stream, Mark.
No. It was for Helen Slater. I watched it initially for that, but I found the film entertaining. But I think this film not only still, it still hits today. It ages very well, not just because just for the way they handle it. Some of the themes in there can still apply today, as we've talked tonight about it. But overall, it's a different teen film from the 80s, from when you were getting the John Hughes type of film. And I'm not slamming John Hughes type of. What I'm saying is this has kind of a One Crazy Summer vibe, but not quite so ridiculous. You would think it is, but it covers some serious subjects, but it doesn't get too heavy. But at the same time, it's lighter. And by the end, you're happy. And even if you're thinking, well, she should have been arrested, I will say this. She walks off into the crowd, kind of off exit stage left. And when you see her hitchhiking, I almost think that she somehow, through whatever means, was able to reach out to her brother who came to Vermont, and that she's actually still on the lam. I think she's on the lam, but in a way that no one's really seeking her out, thanks to Ringwald, is the way I kind of picture the ending, is that she's not really, she's not necessarily like America's Most Wanted. She just can't go back to Texas.
Well, I see where you're going there, Mark. I don't like the ending of this movie. I like that they end up in Vermont. I like her walking away into the crowd. That is a chasm of, breaching realism that I can't quite. It's at the very end of the film, so I can kind of forgive it. But Binks had been taken away in an ambulance. At the very least, mom's getting called to the hospital. The cops are questioning him. He might be going to juvie. But the other thing is, she was acquitted in terms of like the public perception and all that stuff. And even the police might have been like, well, we understand why you did all this, but she didn't pay back those IOUs as far as I can tell.
That's true.
So if nothing else,
it's at least petty theft, but
right. And then some of the other stuff, like pulling the gun on the cop and all this stuff, like a lot of the things they do in this movie are illegal, but she would have to at least go to court for probably a good long time to see if a judge or a jury would say, well, maybe a slap on the wrist, or I don't even know how old she's supposed to be. Maybe she'd end up in juvie too.
And you look at it too, though, the way they play the angle of it back then, the complete popularity of her as well. Having a trial with her would possibly be a circus. And there's many ways. This ends in a true 80s fashion with probably the weirdest freeze frame credit shot, like out of anything. I mean,
it ends on Binks looking at the Yamaha snowmobile. I'm like
wait,
he's
what? Looking up or whatever. It's like this weird, and it's like they could have easily had her exit stage left, flames up, Invincible playing, swell, credits. That's all they had to do. They didn't need to have this little coda at the end, which are just like,
because there's almost like when he's looking, right, but when he's looking at that snowmobile, and he says far out, it's almost like they're setting up like, here we go again. He's gonna get in
Here's
trouble with another
sequel.
scooter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I
You
think
no.
never learn.
I think that's
now we're in Vermont doing it.
I think that's what's implied, but outside of that, the rest of this film, highly entertaining, a lot of fun. It has some things to say without slapping you in the face hard with it. It's still saying stuff.
It slaps you in the nuts, though.
It's well, yeah, there's the kicking in the nuts, but I mean, there's some back in the 80s. I'm going to say it. Yes, off my lawn. I don't care. There were some films that got in your face, but a lot of them, there was a little more nuance with their messaging so much to where if you picked up what they were laying down, you know, they were laying down some stuff. And if you didn't pick it up, you could still be entertained.
Yep.
But if you picked it up, you appreciated the film and the story even more. And that's what I think is lost with some of these films today that want to try to say something. They just come right out and say it. You know, they just...
And a lot of that, I think, comes down to, you know, the whole second screen phenomenon where they just assume you're watching whatever movie or TV show is on your, you know, watching on your phone while you're washing dishes. So they have to spell it out because you're not necessarily looking for cues on the screen or in the performances. Right. But that's a whole other show. We're going to bring this show to an end. I thank both of you for revisiting The Legend of Billie Jean with me. I'm so glad I'm not the only one who loves this movie. And I'm also happy to say that watching it again, you know, after a decade or two, you're right, Mark. I think it does still hold up. And no, I'm saying since the last time I watched it.
Oh, since you watched it. Okay.
Right. It still holds up. I did cringe a little bit at the fair is fair thing, but that's just because it's a very sincere speech and she's kind of like smiling during it. But like, I love the spirit of it. And I'm glad I could share this with you, Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck of Special Mark Productions and the Spoiler Room Podcast, and Katie Glidewell, the blonde in front herself, looking every bit the Billie Jean tonight. So thank you very much. Yes, fair is fair. I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. If you like this live stream, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And also, we have a Patreon, which you can learn more about down the links below. And while you're down there, check out all of Earth's Mightiest Critics, including my guests tonight and the others who could not be here or would not be here. Billie Jean is awesome. I don't care what anyone says.
Billie Jean is awesome.
Yes. And next week, you can join us back here for... another movie, from what I can tell, it's also an action film, an action comedy. Young Lady on the Lam, maybe. It's called Eenie Meenie. It's a film coming out on Hulu this weekend, starring Samara Weaving. I don't know anything about this movie except I watched like half the trailer, and then I was like, I don't want to know. I love Samara Weaving. Don't always love everything she's in, but she's great. So I'm excited to talk about that next Wednesday night, right back here, 8 p.m. Central. And yeah, until next time, whenever that is, whatever that is, thank you very much. Take care. And yeah, stay invincible because fair is fair.
Fair is fair.